According to the latest events on the front line between Russia and Ukraine, the tension on the battlefield remains high. Russian forces continue their aggressive attacks on Ukrainian defenses, sending large armored columns into the assault. This attack took place in the Kharkiv region, near Kotlarivka. Ukrainian pilots of kamikaze drones fiercely began to destroy enemy vehicles. A drone pilot flies to destroy an armored personnel carrier with infantry. Another target was a truck carrying ammunition and gear for Russian soldiers. A single hit, and the target was successfully destroyed. Another Russian armored personnel carrier, but this one was hit by a mine and then finished off by a drone strike. The Russian T-72 tank is rushing forward at full speed, but the drone operator catches up and strikes it. The tank comes to a halt but does not detonate, so the attack must continue. Still, Ukrainian pilots destroy an enemy target. Here comes a Russian armored personnel carrier approaching the destroyed tank to evacuate the crew, but the kamikaze drone pilot doesn't let them do it and attacks the armored vehicle. Some Russian assault soldiers managed to reach the trenches of Ukrainian infantrymen. The Ukrainian infantry engaged in combat and repelled the attack. Then, bomber drones finished clearing the trenches of enemy soldiers. As a result of the attack, 2 Russian assault groups were repelled. The positions of Ukrainian defenders remained unshaken. In another sector, a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone detected a Russian Grad multiple rocket launcher which had just fired on Ukrainian territory and was preparing to leave its combat position. Kamikaze drone pilots immediately took off toward the identified target and delivered 2 deadly hits. The enemy MLRS was successfully destroyed. The detonation was extremely powerful, indicating that not all the ammunition had been fired and that the Russians were preparing to shell Ukrainian territories from a different position. Another extremely expensive Russian SA-11 Gadfly surface-to-air missile system, worth $10 million, was targeted by a precise Ukrainian HIMARS strike and completely destroyed. Here are the Ukrainian pilots of the Phoenix Battalion, ensuring that enemy Russian forces never feel safe or secure on occupied Ukrainian territory. They launch sudden attacks on Russian tanks and armored personnel carriers when the Russians least expect it. Bomber drones destroyed a Russian T-72 tank and are now attacking an enemy MTLB, which the Russians had camouflaged among tree branches. No Russian soldier will feel safe on Ukrainian territory. Ukrainian pilots operate both during the day and at night. Here, a Russian attack soldier, leaving a trail of smoke behind after abandoning a destroyed armored personnel carrier, was heading towards a cemetery. However, upon encountering a Ukrainian drone, it was unable to escape. This Russian assault took place on March 13th in the Donetsk region, in the city of Chasiv Yar. Russian armored columns began attacking the city simultaneously from 3 directions. Drone pilots and artillerymen had to control all 3 fronts at once, but their coordinated actions made life difficult for the Russian forces. As soon as the Russians began entering the city, Ukrainian forces started destroying their armored vehicles one by one. Russian soldiers were terrified, with some abandoning their vehicles and fleeing to hide in the ruins of the city. But the pilots of the bombers' drones didn't let go and continued to pursue each target. Russian armored vehicles were burning with black smoke, turning into pieces of molten metal. The assault was intense, but the Ukrainian defenders managed to halt it. Here, the Perun drone system battalion of the 42nd Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian ground forces is attacking Russian troops moving behind the front line. 10 kilometers from the front line, on occupied Ukrainian territory, the Russians once felt more secure, but now drone pilots are reaching them even there. The sudden attacks keep the Russian occupiers in constant stress, preventing them from relaxing and constantly reminding them that they have already purchased a one-way ticket with no return. Here, the Perun pilots are organizing a safari for Russian soldiers hiding among the ruins of Ukrainian cities. Russian soldiers think they can deceive Ukrainian pilots and hide among the ruined houses, but the spy drone is constantly monitoring them, and it is very difficult to hide from it. In cloudy and cold weather, drone pilots can activate the thermal imaging system, making the chances of survival for Russian soldiers drop to 0. However, on warm, sunny days, using the thermal imager is forbidden as the drone overheats and immediately loses connection. Therefore, during the day, the Russians try to move around, knowing that their chances are better in such conditions. This Russian soldier tried to hide from a Ukrainian drone in a destroyed armored personnel carrier. However, the reconnaissance drone spotted him, and kamikaze drone pilots are already flying toward him. That's all, my friends. Subscribe to the channel to not miss new videos. This material was prepared by Hustler. See you soon.